Welcome back to another episode of the Screen Love Affair podcast, where for this week and last week, we're just talking about movies that are explicitly designed to make you feel like shit. This week, the leading one is Die, My Love. We're also going to talk about Predator, Badlands on the back half of this episode, because we do need to lighten it up. We need a fun movie, so we will be talking about that one on the back end. But
for the viewers at home, I want to
off,
say that's the best order. Shea and I saw these back to back on the same days, and I saw Predator first, and really enjoyed it. Felt like my inner 14-year-old was like, "That's awesome!" And then I went to go see Die, My Love, and my inner 14-year-old was reminded about everything I dealt with growing up and was miserable. Shea, you could probably guess what I thought of Die, My Love based on the family dynamics. Do you think I loved it or what?
I guarantee you felt very visceral about it, I think. But I feel like that's a uniform experience here.
I didn't even see Predator Badlands, so I'm just straight up having a bad time.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you had no palate cleanser.
Time, went to go see a different one afterwards. But yeah, no, I think, well, let's kick off. I don't even know. I love Lynn Ramsey is the director. I was a huge fan of, which I can't believe it was her last movie, with Joaquin Phoenix. That was everyone, like, I remember always like teased about it, like, oh, this was like the real good version of the Joker and all that kind of thing, which I tend to agree with. But I was very excited for this. I knew absolutely nothing about it other than the two lead cast and that it was Lynn Ramsey. Subject matter wise, I didn't know anything. Overall, my takeaway was it was an incredibly visceral film. Like, you feel it. It does make you feel something. A lot of things, I would say, pretty significantly. But when it kind of ended, I was just kind of left like, huh. Like, I didn't really quite know what to make of it all. I can't deny how I felt kind of throughout, but I just was left kind of unsure overall of the experience as a movie. So I'm kind of a little bit more mid on this one. Like, it was definitely good, but like I said, I really don't know what to make of it. So we'll see how that kind of comes out through the conversation. But Adriana, I know you liked it more because I turned to look at you. We both sat in silence for a little while.
Yeah.
and then I was like,
part of that was just waiting for like the annoying people behind us to like leave or shut up or whatever. But yeah, it was definitely one of those, like, you kind of have to let it sit and percolate. And even now, I haven't even logged it on Letterboxd because I feel like I need to write something about it or say something about it, and I just feel so unprepared to do so. And I feel like whatever I have to say today after like a very long day is probably not going to be very coherent, but I do know that I did like it a lot. And I thought it was a very like a visceral and powerful movie. Yeah, I'll have more to say when we get into it, but it definitely worth your time if you want more movies in the vein of like If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Like, I think these two would make just such a like feel bad double feature in a similar way, both kind of covering similar themes about motherhood and marriage and things like that, but very different.
I would definitely agree on that. I would say I enjoyed If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You a lot more because for whatever reason, I definitely felt like that was a little bit more like artful in a way, where this one definitely is, and it's very enjoyable for a lot of the same reasons. But kind of like Shea, I definitely felt like the If I Had Legs movie, by the time it finished, it was like everybody was like holding on to each other, looking for fresh air, like gasping. And this one kind of finishes and you're just like, damn, I don't feel too good. But I would say that this movie definitely gave me a similar vibe to like, not as much, but it reminded me a little bit of Mother, also Jennifer Lawrence, just like, a movie about motherhood and just kind of getting lost in the traditional roles of motherhood. So spoiler free, that's kind of like the premise. The trailers sold it a little bit more like a domestic thriller in a way. Like it was like an unhinged couple, which it definitely is, but I expected it to be almost more like a straight up domestic abuse situation based on the trailers. But it's a lot more of like a meditation on like motherhood and the transitioning of, a young woman into the head of a household, of a family, having like a kind of despondent father, partner, husband type. Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence are great in this. I'm happy to see Jennifer Lawrence working again. I feel like she took a bit of a break after she did that one movie where she has to date like a high schooler, and there's a full nudity scene in that movie where she beats these kids up on a beach. I watched that movie on a plane, and I remember looking over my shoulder being like, I didn't expect this in like this comedy, So this movie, for the bros out there, there's a lot of full frontal nudity of Jennifer Lawrence. Small appreciative takeaway. And yeah, I don't think that's a spoiler, so I'm keeping that in this half the review. But yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I'd say I put it on the heartometer. I'd give it a like. Didn't quite crest the hill of love. Not a bad movie, but it is a bad time. And last thing I'll say to that effect is I was at a wedding yesterday, and I had a lot of people ask me about the podcast, funny enough. So I was doing a lot of promo. And one lady was like, "Oh, have you seen any movies recently?" And I was describing like if I had legs, I was describing this movie. And this nice lady next to me goes, "Yeah, I don't watch movies that make me feel bad. I need the escapism. I don't know why anybody like loves them." I'm like, honestly, I respect that because I was saying, I felt really high on life after Predator, and then this movie put me right back into like childhood trauma. So yeah, without giving anything away, that's kind of my general thoughts on this one. I too feel like I need to sit with it, but I also don't know how much more I could really say without like giving away big beats.
Yeah.
So
yeah, well, I think, first of all, just to toot my own horn a little bit, I feel like I do really well at planning my double and triple features. Like, I almost nail it. I think there's definitely been exceptions, but even this one was sort of accidental. It was more of a timing thing just to try and make it work for everybody. But I was so grateful as soon as the movie ended that I was going into Predator right after, because I'm like, God, and I hope I enjoy that one. So, but yeah, on this one, honestly, it's interesting that you guys are both, kind of in the like love side of this. And I'm like, mine was more like on the mid to like kind of breakdown. And I think for me, like, it was a visceral experience in going, and like for me, we can jump into the spoiler parts, but just overall for me, it was really, like, you feel bad. Like, I find Jennifer Lawrence, like, I don't know if I like Jennifer Lawrence in this movie. She's definitely giving a lot, but I really struggled to disconnect her from her movies. Like, I don't see the character, I see Jennifer Lawrence, and I feel like I saw like Robert Pattinson, I felt like was more kind of disappeared a little more into the role. His is more background, like it's not as prominent, so it's easier for him to do that too. But like, so when she's acting a lot, and that's kind of in the same vein when we came out of Blue Moon, and I'm like, wow, there was a lot of acting in this movie. I felt like that about Jennifer Lawrence too, and it works for the movie. Like, it didn't feel like kind of a disconnection that way, but like just one of those situations where, like, as people are feeling bad and like doing things that, like, I never found my way in, I guess, ultimately to connect to any of these characters. And so then when all these events are happening, I don't understand their logic. I'm not even overly sympathetic to what any of them are really going through, except for the mother character, really. And so I just kind of like, I felt anxious. I felt stressed. I felt like, oh my God, like I felt all these kind of moments throughout, but it just was really kind of that without really any kind of care on my end for some reason.
I would definitely say, like, to the opposite point. I mean, again, it's just, all art is subjective, but I was kind of in the opposite boat where I felt like I could really understand the characters and like found my way in pretty easily. Just a guy that is always at work and kind of clueless to what his partner needs because he doesn't spend the whole time with her the way the movie does. Like the tone deafness of when he brings home the dog. I was like, I know guys that have done that and their partners who have crashed out. And, I wouldn't be surprised if that was like emblematic of my future. And I do have a girlfriend, and we're pretty serious about stuff, and we do talk about like what it'd be like having kids and certain parental values and stuff. Like, we have pretty intellectual connections. I know it's hard for me to say that because I'm not the intellectual guy on the pod here, but my girlfriend Renata does bring up all the time, like, the transition into motherhood is so beautiful but nightmarish. And I feel like watching this movie, I was like, oh, this is what she is referring to. And just that idea that you kind of lose your identity in it, and you go a little stir crazy. And I think that's like a big through line. This, or like all the older ladies are like, you do go crazy in the first year, and she's so dismissive of it. It's like she just should actually grab that lifeline instead of rejecting it. And I think they do put a lot on Jennifer Lawrence's character, having to establish her as kind of like, she is the problem. Like at first you're like, oh no, it's her husband for being neglectful, but he steps up as much as he possibly can throughout the movie. And that's where I was like, I feel like he's doing the right moves to the best he can most of the time, especially after that first act where it really shows him kind of like not being the greatest. And then, after a while, it's like she has this lack of accountability that leads her to be more self-isolating and going crazier by her own kind of hand. And I found it to be, I found my way in pretty easy, I guess, because I definitely feel like in the long relationship life talks I've had with my partner, I saw a lot of that like echoed in Jennifer Lawrence, and I definitely am Robin Pattinson as far as like, just being like, let's go for a drive. We need to go for a drive. We need to talk this one out right now. I can't let it go. You gotta like tell me more, be in with me. And like, even not alluding to my own life here, because obviously I'm not affected by this at all. But like, even when she's like forcing him to pipe her down in the car, it's like I've definitely been in relationships where it's just like you're so stressed out with your own life and busyness and ongoings when your partner feels neglected, and they're like, all right, don't you want to tear my clothes off? And you're like, no, I just got home from work. I'm busy. Like mentally, I'm not here with you. Like I don't look forward to every moment of the day because it is such a nightmare sometimes. And I thought that was a good scene. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just revealing too much about myself, which is a constant theme on this podcast, but I really found my way in with these characters.
I agree with you. I think I also was able to find my way in and kind of understand the feelings, but probably for slightly different reasons. Like just her experience as like a woman and a writer and someone who is like can't write because that motivation to create has sort of died. Like that was sort of my way in. And I don't know, to me this movie really reminded me of the short story The Yellow Wallpaper, which is one of my favorite short stories, and is like a very creepy story about a woman who gives birth and like has postpartum depression and is basically controlled by the men in her life. It was written in like the 1800s, so a different time, but is basically told to rest and like be idle, and that sort of idleness drives her a little bit crazy. And to me that's very much like what is going on in this movie. But I thought also it's interesting that you mentioned the way the trailer framed it. I don't think I saw the trailers except whatever was like forced upon me in the movie theater, but I don't remember what the trailer was. But I think it's interesting that the movie could have very easily gone into that easy place of like it turns abusive or like something more melodramatic, but I found it really almost like pleasantly surprising that the movie's stance seems to be that these two people genuinely do love each other and care about each other. They just don't understand each other, and they're still trying in a way. And I think the wedding scene is like a nice moment of like seeing them actually be joyful together before obviously it goes off the rails. But like that connection does seem to be real. It's just a matter of like life and other things getting in the way and like driving them apart. Yeah. And I thought that was more complex than the easier version of the story would have been.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that in the sense where, and I think I was kind of hinting at that earlier, where I feel like it would be really easy and obvious just to be like, aren't men terrible for the way they don't even care about their wives? And they do ride that line for what I feel like the first like act at least. But I definitely felt like as we approach the wedding scene and even the scene like the engagement where she kind of goes off and it's implied she maybe has an affair or maybe it's a dream, who knows. And he crawls up to her in the field and they're crawling on hands and knees, like he's trying to meet her at her level, trying to match her freak. And I think that was really endearing. And he proposes, and that does make things better, and they have a great little wedding until she goes off the deep end. But I do think it's fun in a very complex way that they do set this up where they could have copped out and just been like, oh, men, am I right? They just don't get it. And I think by the end of the movie, you do start to not like hate Jennifer Lawrence, but you do see it's like she is really actively not trying to get better or be better. And even the way the movie ends, where she kind of just chooses to like, again, there's some ethereal qualities to this where she like walks off into the woods, burning her journal, setting the woods on fire and naked. Again, cool imagery, but part of I think Shea's myth factor, because that's where I felt a little meh, was like they do this really grounded love story. It felt super, super grounded a lot of the time. And the scenes that could have been potentially a dream or like hallucinated, the ending having that quality, I was a little bit like, I wish there was maybe a little bit more to, stick the landing for me. I would be interested in hearing what kind of like didn't click for you in that sense, because I definitely like, again, the complexity of it and the characters, but I do feel a little meh when it comes to maybe the ending tying in the whole movie.
On one hand, I feel wildly vindicated by all of your initial takeaways, Brandon, because I did tell Adriana, I'm like, I think Brandon's really going to have like everything you said. I feel like I beat for beat
you predicted
when I talked to Adriana. So I'm glad to see that my senses are in tune there. But no, I find actually a lot of what you guys just said really interesting, because it was like almost in complete contrast to what I felt. Like, to say that this relationship felt grounded, it felt like a grounded kind of relationship story. Like, I never felt that at any point in this movie.
I mean,
thought
I didn't use
this...
the word grounded.
No, that was what Brandon just said.
Yeah,
but
you just
I'm
don't
like,
date crazy women. That's your problem. If you dated crazier women,
maybe,
Shea, you would find it very
maybe
relatable.
That's part of the issue. But no, like, because for me it was like at no point, and this is where I'm not sure, because it's got to be something more than like, I didn't really need to see these scenes, I guess. And so, like, this is just me kind of talking through my feelings. But, like, to say you connected on this level because she's a writer and, has lost that love or whatever's going on. Like, the movie just wanted me, I guess, to just trust that, like, just because they told us she was a writer, so I'm supposed to feel this kind of connection, I guess. Like, I feel like it didn't really, like, I never saw this fall from grace, because to me, she was in that space pretty much from the moment the movie starts. So, like, and in the same way, their relationship, the very opening of the movie when they arrive at the house, then we get this kind of like sex montage, and then we jump into the baby's born and all that, or she's pregnant and then the baby's born. So like the whole movie, I felt like 99% of it was when their relationship is in turmoil and they're doing things that, like, wildly kind of, like you said, bringing the dog, like you said, you've known people, like, again, that was a choice that I'm sure and I know of people have made, but I was like, what do you do? Like, so it was just another kind of layer where it was like sort of like the bad decision making kind of aspect we talked about with Legs, but where like none of it just felt as earned, I guess. Like, it didn't feel as natural. And so, like, I didn't have anything to really bind me to care about anybody. And then when they immediately start doing even weird shit, like when she's going through the field with the knife, like out of the gate, like, this was a character that at no point was I on board with. Like, that was one of the opening, like, within 10 minutes at least, I want to say, of the movie, she's going through the field with this knife and she walks around and sets it right next to the baby and is just acting weird. So then I never was like, it's not that I wasn't sympathetic totally, but I just never, I was like, what the fuck? It was just weird people doing weird, bad shit for 2 hours.
Get a before, right? We don't have, aside from that opening scene where they're walking through the house and she mentions he makes music and like they fuck, that's sort of it, right? That's the extent of like the before, and then we immediately cut to like baby's 6 months old, and she feels like domesticated and like unhappy.
I would
So I get
say
where you're coming from, but I still feel like I understood and I was like on the level with it, and even like her immediately crawling through the grass with a knife, I was like, oh, this woman's crazy and I'm here for it, you know? Like yeah.
I would say, dude, she does a ton of writing. Don't you remember when she put ink and breast milk on the paper in that opening scene to show how crazy she was getting? Again, immediate nudity bought me in, but to actually make a point that's not just that is, I would say like I would say like I kind of felt that too. Like I felt like did I miss something? Like was there like a cutaway shot of her novel? Was there thing she had done that she felt like she was on the cusp of that the baby ruined? I do think that maybe could have helped a little bit with the buy-in on that level. And even the ending again, I thought maybe the corny plot twist was just going to be like she wrote about this relationship and became a bestseller or whatever. And they almost like they do a La La Land where they find their own successes. Like maybe he remarries with a very stable woman and he's got his truck and his thing, like his dog, and she's like a writer and, you know, maybe realized she wasn't supposed to be a mom, like whatever. I thought they were going to do the La La Land, great connection, wrong time kind of thing. And then in the end, when they're just like, no, it's actually all kind of a nightmare. Don't worry. Don't think about it. You know, I was like, oh, okay. But, yeah, I did feel that, gripe that you had a little bit, but like I said, I think I was just so bought in on the relatability. And then another small thing, a little reveal, a little bit of my own lived experience. I would say like I have dated quite a bit in my time, and I have dated women who say that they're like an entrepreneur, they have a business, and it's really important to them. And then you like meet them and know them intimately, and it's like, oh, it's like an Etsy shop that's got like $200 a year in sales. And then, you know, when you're when you're busy with your life and your podcast and your wedding business and your 60-hour week day job, and you know, you're the one that's genuinely busy running your life, and then they have this mild resentment of like, well, you don't care about my Etsy business. And it's like, well, no, it's just leagues apart. And I don't know, I feel like a part of me does believe that there's that archetype of person, not just women, but a person. Like there's many men that are hype beasts that are like, yeah, I have a side hustle, I clean Jordans or whatever, you know, or have a car detailing or vinyl wrap business that again does like 5 cars a year, and they're like, yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, I work at Canadian Tire and I wrap cars on the side, I'm a real hustler. So I think, you know, generally speaking, like I do believe there's that archetype of person that's like, they'll find an excuse to point at their failed passions. And so I could almost believe that, yeah, she was a great writer who's given up. And even in the context of the movie, when people ask her about her writing, she's embarrassed about it. And I don't know if it's because the baby genuinely took it away, or if it's because she's like, I was never going to do this. You know, I say I'm a writer to sound interesting and sound like I have a worldliness about me, but in reality, I don't. I lack the commitment, and even to her partner, she lacks the commitment to Robert Pattinson, like her abandonment issues and her attachment style, all that relationship therapy stuff I don't want to get into. I feel like that plays into it, of just somebody that has had trouble committing, not to relationships, but also to like life choices. And, you know, it's kind of, I think it's pretty obvious to say like that could, again, I'm adding headcanon, but for me, there's a lot of believability there. I feel like I've met these people that say there's something to be something, especially in today's age where everyone feels like they're always, you know, promoting and trying to have a side hustle. And I would believe that Jennifer Lawrence is just the type of person that says they're a writer, but really never sits down, because she has infinite time now. And I feel like even without the baby, she would be maybe in that boat where she's just looking for reasons and ways out and issues. And part of this too, I would try to segue a little bit to say, like, I couldn't figure out the time period of this movie for a little bit because there's such a lack of smartphones. I feel like I would see any movie with a bored housewife in contemporary times just playing Candy Crush on her phone. Instead, she's like blasting music and drinking, which again, relatable. But I would say like there's a smartphone choice in this movie that I felt was needed. But then later when they see people taking selfies at parties, you're like, oh, this is contemporary. His 2003 Toyota 4Runner it's not a 2003 movie. This is a contemporary movie. So yeah, anyhow, that's kind of one, that was a tangent.
There is, I do recall there being at least one scene when she's like in the house where she has an iPhone or something, but I can't recall the specifics of it or what it was used for, or if it's just shown briefly. But it stood out to me because I was also like, oh, okay, we are like in modern day, relatively speaking. Because yeah, but I think that's also part of it. Like a big thing that we haven't talked about is the setting. Part of it is like these are city people, they're from New York, and now they're living in the middle of nowhere in the fucking Midwest in like a house in which his like uncle killed himself, and like part of that is why I think she's also feeling trapped. I think the atmosphere is really interesting too. There's constantly flies buzzing, and
oh yeah,
the way the night shots were filmed was really cool to me. I mean, the way the movie was filmed in general was like beautiful, I thought.
Agreed.
I think Lynn Ramsey's like eye is like so good. But yeah, I think being taken from your environment in which you feel free and like your whole life is, and being moved to this shitty house in the middle of nowhere, and now you have to take care of a kid, I think that's like a big piece of the puzzle here as to why she was feeling the way she was feeling, beyond just the typical like, again, identity on the crisis of having a
buy-in
kid,
aspect. I would definitely say, like, my girlfriend and I, she's grown up in downtown Toronto her whole life. She doesn't drive, much like our Jennifer Lawrence character. And we talk about buying a house, but in today's economy, you can't buy anything in Toronto for under, $1 million. That's bigger than 3 shoe boxes stacked together. So her and I have that conversation all the time. Like, what if I bought us a house in Hamilton and I drove an hour to get to the city every day for work and then worked 12 hours and came home? My girlfriend would end up in the exact same position of Jennifer Lawrence in this movie. So I think I was very empathetic in that setting and the way they set that up, because that's a real life conversation I've probably had a dozen times in the last 2 years of dating. So yeah, I again, for me, I liked a lot of that in the buy-in element. But yeah, you're totally right. It does set you up very well to like understand her desperation, her tonal shift, her lifestyle change, her adjustment from being like a city girl to that, walking the baby through farmers fields and dirt roads to the gas station for mac and cheese, and hating all the local small town small talk. And yeah, again, kudos, looks great. And yeah, the 4:3 aspect ratio and the dream sequences had big A24 vibes. So yeah, I no complaints.
Don't undersell Lynn Ramsey like that. I reject your A24 vibes comparison. No, I think but even the way you guys talk about this is like, it's like a transition. It's like, I don't like, again, we have to take it at face value that she wasn't this nuts before, but like at no point does she make decisions that ever make me feel like she was a good person beforehand. Like, she's so just outright rude to people. The one good gesture she demonstrates at one point, at least my read on it, was that like she imagined helping her like the dad with his shoe.
The
Like,
suicidal
that
grandpa.
seemed fake. So like, or that she imagined it or something like that. So like,
it was also performative
again,
and rude. She leaves the conversation to go do a good deed, and I was like, I don't know. I'd be turned
but
off
then
by
she
that.
cuts back. He's still got the other shoes on, and she's in the exact same spot she was before she left. So like, I don't think that happened. There is the scene where they go out in the woods together. Yeah. So like, I don't know. I won't belabor this anymore. But like, yeah, like I never liked or even found them compelling or interesting. Like, it was just people that I just saw like out of the gate, basically. Like, again, this concept of being a writer, like I don't think this is as simple as that, like, oh, I just didn't get enough scenes where people told her she was such a good writer, what happened or something like that. Because, not to just keep referencing the movie that we all loved last week, but like, we kind of find our character in the same boat at that point. Like, she is a mess out of the gate, and like, but that movie does enough to kind of establish that like, this is a particular point in time, that like, she has her own practice, she is this, she is that. And it's not like, even if, I don't know if it's just like little things like, oh, you wrote, not like, I don't know what the movie could have done, I guess, but like, it just really just felt like crazy people doing crazy dumb shit. So then I just kind of sit back, and instead of finding a way in, I'm like observing like it's a show, right? Like, it's I'm just kind of like unemotionally watching crazy, weird, wild shit going down, and like again cringing and reacting, particularly in the scenes where they're with other people. Like when she's at that house party as a guest, like I wanted to peel my own skin off. I was like, A, why would you bring her there? And
Such a
B, why would you
liability.
bring her there and not watch her? Because then
Not
she just
warn
takes
anybody,
her dress
yeah.
off and jumps into the, like, I was like, oh my God. So like, again, it was like, again, I was watching it almost as like a unfeeling spectator, I felt like, and I didn't know, like, I don't want to be, but I just felt like the movie really kind of didn't give me anything to find a way in on to be sympathetic, because like, yeah, even to say like, oh, like,
I
oh,
mean,
like the writer, it's like, what, by
question
what
for
definition?
You, like, why do you feel like you need to sympathize with her for her to be interesting?
Well, you need to give me a way to invest. Like, again, if you want me to invest, like, it's not necessarily interesting, but it's that I need to care. But I care doesn't mean like in a sympathetic way. It's more of that investment way. Like, I can care about bad characters, evil people. I can be invested in what they do. It was just like this kind of blocker where it was like again, not to like, it's not that simple, but it's like watching like animals do something and you're like, oh, it's crazy, it's just what animals do. But like, I don't intrinsically buy into like an emotion component to that.
I mean,
to be like,
I think the animal comparison is pretty apt, because there's a lot going on with animals in this movie.
Yeah.
And I think the idea, I don't know, probably overly simplistic, but like, she is kind of an animal. She is this like feral person that has been domesticated and is like reacting against that, is how I saw it. Yeah, like the horses, there's the dog, of course, there's the rats that they reference, like there's a lot going on with animal imagery, crawling around on all fours,
like pretty quickly. Like, yeah, I would say too, to your pool party part is, I too was kind of like, oh, okay, that was like the turning point a little bit, where I was like, well, one of the turning points where I was like, oh, she is just crazy, and it's harder to sympathize with her now. Like, she has actively chosen to not be human and converse with the grandmother who's trying to give her a way in, and the lady at the party who consents she's in turmoil and tries to like code switch to be a little bit more like, hey, I get it, like I have 2 kids, and like, yeah, you go crazy. She just doesn't want anything to do with anybody, and that's on her. And I too was kind of like, okay, she does kind of suck as a main character as far as not having any ownership. But what I would say is like the thing that brought me back to liking it or understanding the movie to the terms I agreed with was when Robert Pattinson has that like anxiety induced panic attack because his wife has just lost it, and he's like, I am so alone in my world here. When she comes back in and she's the only one that can like get him to calm down, I was like, oh, this is like just another scene reinforcing like a very good toxic relationship, like a very good relationship that is so potently gone bad. And again, that was me buying into their dynamic. However, one thing I want to ask you about is, what do you think is real in this movie? As far as she keeps finding condoms in his work truck, be it the old one where he's like, oh, you know, and then he gets the new truck and there's a new box of condoms that like has been opened recently, and they kept showing that. So like, is Robert Pattinson actually having an affair, or do you think she's imagining that like some of the other scenes? Do you think the dream sequences
I thought the affair stuff was pretty, or at least as like the condom stuff always to me was evident that it was real.
Yeah.
I think that part was true. The whole thing with the biker and like her affair, no fucking clue, really, to be honest with you, what any of that was really trying to go for.
I think she was imagining all of that as like a form of escape, you know?
Yeah.
And to a degree, because
the grocery store scene
like when he confronts her, yes, that's where I was like, he knew who she was. It wasn't just he didn't. Well, he has seen her before. They have interacted in some capacity.
Have they?
Oh, without question, he did not just be like, "What's this crazy bitch doing here?"
No, but
like
then
he had like a.
there's a moment where it cuts back to her in the truck again, and Robert Pattinson's coming out, and Neighbors just turned away. He's just packing the car, like as if he didn't see her. So to me, that whole thing was imagined, like the recognition, all of it.
That could be true too.
Yeah.
What I would say is, like, there's that early scene with the knife where she's like, cut your lip. When we see him at the grocery store, I don't remember him having any.
I didn't see it either.
So, and a weird thing with the grocery store thing is they go through great lengths to show that he's in his own difficult marriage, because he's got that wheelchair bound daughter who's having like a breakdown about, I'm assuming, her disability, like struggling and coping. And I feel like that was the through line there, was like, she is not well, I wouldn't say imagining, but she's seeing the stress in his life, being like, oh, that's why he comes to my property. That's where he comes for the escapism that I also need. But then the reality is, she's like, I've seen him driving by my house, and maybe he recognizes her faintly from those motorcycle drive-bys where he sees her in the window or on the porch just waving or whatever. So I'd like to believe that she does see him. They know each other from that, but I do feel like all the nighttime barnyard stuff is most likely imaginary, but it's hard to pin
and
down.
I'm also even confused because, again, through the movie, we realize like that is who that is. He's clearly obfuscated, like you can't see his face. And then when they have the scene in the barn, because I remember reacting to the actor, I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I know that guy,
like Keith Stanfield, big year for him.
So I was like, "Oh shit!" I recognize him, but then. So then she bumps into him, like that's the first time the movie ever shows us his face. So the fact that then she sees him, like, again, like I don't want to, because I don't think it is. I think I would put the onus more on my ability to comprehend it than a fault of the movie, honestly. But like, it just feels like these kind of beats, like I don't understand really what the whole point of that all was, to be honest with you. But aside from that, I just felt like the execution of it was weird. Like if the grocery store scene happens before and we see him and we clearly know this is who this character is, like it is him on the bike. Like it was just odd to me that we see this helmet dude on the bike, and then a couple times, and then that we see him without his helmet in a barn, which, like we generally are agreeing, seemed to be some sort of fantasy thing. And then the one time we see the character for sure, whether the whole thing happened, but we see him for sure, he's not on that bike. I'm like, I don't, like, have they met before? Like, I don't understand any of, like, there's logistical things that make no sense to me. It's not like he's a clearly established character. And frankly, they'll cut all of that out, and I don't see functionally how this really changes anything. Like, I don't really think it added a whole lot to any of the story to have it kind of involved anyway.
The wedding night scene too, when she's beckoning the front desk guy to come bring her ice, that was rough, because it's like I feel like whatever those fantasy sequences were, that was like probably a real moment where she's almost trying to seduce the bellboy or the front desk guy to come bring the ice. And it's like, again, like I think, like from a man's perspective, I feel like this is kind of a nightmare scenario where on your wedding night, your wife is great moments, but then she's belligerent and like lost the plot, and then she's self-isolating and trying to get attention from anybody. And like, I don't know. I think on the real life horror side, that was definitely an element to me where it was like, oh yeah, like if I've had serious discussions with my partner about what life looks like during that transitionary phase, and then this is an example of like a postpartum nightmare, it's like I don't know, I definitely felt strongly about a lot of it. But yeah, the hallucinatory elements, because reminding you guys too, very similar scene is when she walks to the farmer's field to go get the grandmother's gun, and then she does actually get the gun and shoots the dog, and that's all in the same kind of nighttime filming look. So it did lend credibility to believe that maybe she is having this barnyard affair with the motorcycle guy. But I do agree with you that if they showed him at the grocery store as this handsome guy with his family and his beautiful truck or whatever, and then the next night's when he takes the helmet off, it would feel very clear that she's projecting that successful husband onto the biker guy to have the affair with. But that comes so much later in the movie that you're like, oh, was that real? Like, did we introduce him? Did I miss that beat? Like, I definitely agree with you there. And those scenes, they worked for me in the moment, but looking back and trying to pin down where I felt on this, that was definitely a factor of like kind of you said, like sometimes dream sequences that are unexplainable, just to either, pad runtime or say more of the same message that I think was pretty well communicated throughout the film. Don't know if we needed it. So yeah, I don't know. I guess that's my general thoughts on that.
Yeah, like I remain pretty convinced that like there was that part seemed to add really kind of a whole lot of nothing for me. And I think like one of the things I wanted to push back on you way earlier, Brandon, was when you said like, oh, like they propose and they get married and it's good. Like it works for a bit. I'm like, I was wanting to really
for
not
scenes,
nitpick your language. Well, that's what I mean. I didn't want to nitpick your language, but I was like, conceptually again, that was just another one of those beats where like again coming out of an insane moment where you're like I like of the proposal to be like we should get married. I'm like no we shouldn't.
Yeah, but it's one of those moves that like feels understandable. Like
it feels desperate to me was how I took it.
Yeah.
But that's not understandable. Desperation is not like I'm very
you're not a desperate person.
Yeah.
But
to the characters that are written in the movie, that makes sense. So I think that's why Adriana and I are agreeing
again. The one of the barriers is that okay, I feel this way then instantaneously, like it's during the wedding. We see them have their first dance and that goes well, and then it immediately falls apart. And so it's just like, again, what are we doing? We're just watching more compounding of the same beat over and over that I just kind of was left like, well...
Yeah, but that's kind of how psychosis works, right? And mental illness or whatever to some degree. It's like
that's how toxic relationships work. Like, oh, it's not working, let's have a baby. Let's get married. You grew up in the Grey Bruce. You know exactly about
her own mind.
Yeah. No,
but sure, I didn't care then, I guess, is my thing. And then, like, just...
okay, you're allowed to feel that way.
And again, the ethereal beats, too, of, like, this dark horse and like it just like I'm doubting myself more than I want to fault the movie because I do think Lynn Ramsey is amazing, but like that was all just stuff that I'm like I don't understand, and I don't like thinking about it a lot since, because like this has been the one movie on the weekend I've spent the most time thinking about. Like I just don't like no matter even what I read did I feel all that more secure about really even what the kind of intent was and what they were going for, and like the car accident with the deer and the dog. Like it just seemed to me like that whole dog thing I thought was executed brilliantly, pun not intended, but like the moment it comes in, it's just constant. You hear it for like 25, whatever the length.
Nuts.
Yeah, the whatever length that the dog is there and alive for. But even then, again, this is where it feels like sort of sloppy, where they're like, well, the dog's sick. And it's like, it didn't seem sick. It was just barking a lot. But then when she goes to kill it, it sort of does seem sick. Is this all imagined? You know, who knows?
Dude,
and like
I would
the
say...
way that was handled, though, then it just, she does that, which is fucking crazy. And then you don't fucking do anything. You don't react to it. You just bury it and you're kind of glum and like, you crazy bitch, want to get married? Like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it was so stupid for me that I couldn't. Like,
to that dog note, though, I would say that I might as well work for IMAX because I'm a master of projection. And I would like to say that I assume that maybe she's projecting onto the dog that it must be sick because it's always whining. Again, tying in her like lack of motherly instinct, her lack of empathy, her, so I think like that was that. I don't think the dog was sick at all. I think it was just like a classically abused, neglected animal like herself. Like on the animal symbolism, we joked about the dark horse. I forgot about it for a second, but they hit the dark horse with the truck at one point, right?
Yeah.
So like,
and then it's
is
like
there a tie in there?
Unscathed.
Like the thing with the dark horse was I was kind of thinking along the lines of like, retrospectively, like they show the horse in the stable and her with the baby touching it, and then later it escapes. They hit it with the car, hurting the horse, and then you see the horse near the end alone in the woods, also beat up from that. And it feels like you could almost tie maybe the structure of the acts of the movie to the horse interactions in a way, or does the horse represent her fleeting freedoms, being beaten down by the truck and Robin Pattinson forcing her to have that hard conversation? Like I don't know. Again, it wasn't immediate to me. I just want to know if you guys, I guess, saw a parallel there, or if I'm again just trying to give headcanon to make the movie more artful.
No,
yeah,
I mean,
it's straight over my dome, dude.
I think it's pretty open to interpretation. Like any of those things you threw out could work as you were saying it. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
The one
I need a
thing
smarter
that
YouTuber to confirm this for me.
I'm like too brain dead to really think it through at this point. But there was one moment where she like, I forget when, but when she like meets the horse face to face or whatever, and this is after she's like launched herself through the glass door and her face is all cut up,
Oh
and the
yeah,
horse's
what a
face
crazy
is all
scene.
cut up, and I was like, I get it. They're like she's
bonded.
one with the horse or something.
Yeah, so there is a parallel for sure. It's just unclear what that is.
I don't know. The horse is the one kind of thing that
the horse threw itself into the road the way she threw herself through the glass door to get some attention. I get it. The horse is an allegory for being ignored and self-harm. That's a great connection, Adriana. Thanks for telling us that.
There you go.
Did she throw herself through the window when he was burying the
dog?
Too?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, again, it's like one of those things where
once
it's
again, dude, I don't know. Well, like, it just felt so, like, it was like watching, like, I got the impression, like, it was like I'm watching, like, I'm an alien species that has come to Earth, and I'm just observing things that I don't understand, and I'm like, what are they doing?
That's kind
and
of
I'm
what
watching it go downhill, but then it's like, but I don't, I'm like, wow, that's weird, and then that's it, I don't really care.
That's kind of what it's like to be a man, isn't it? Like, in trying to understand women.
To be fair,
not even like the women in it. It's like, I understand the beats. Like, the idea of like, all of this makes sense in isolation, but they never work for me as themes in this movie. Like, the postpartum thing is part of it. This writing angle, this giving up your life, this being in a new place and being isolated. Like, they're all very evident. Like, the themes, they don't hide it most of the time. They do talk about it at various points, all the specifics. But like, again, I just because they're there, I don't want to like heed too much credit. And I feel like I'm giving this movie the benefit of the doubt that I'm the problem and like I'm just not getting it and it didn't work for me. But I feel like as an experience, like I said, I felt the visceralness. Like, it wasn't that I was unengaged either, because like so much weird bad shit's happening. Like, you're constantly like, oh, although I will say the people behind us at like definitely a part of the movie where they should be past this kind of thing did have the ability to go, Jennifer Lawrence makes me kind of want to get bangs. That was one of the lines that I audibly heard as the descent is going down, and she's like, "Those bangs, though," and I'm like, "See, clearly I wasn't the only one tweaking out." And there was one moment, I'm trying to remember what it was exactly, but when there was a guy, Adriana, in our screening in I want to say like the back left, like way behind us, but she does something. I can't remember if it's when she jumps through the window or something, but the guy just goes, oh no, it was when she smashes her head off the mirror in the hotel. And the dude behind us goes, oh geez. Like he hit like an oh god. Like he was so like shook by that. And I was like, yeah, like again, I was with that guy spiritually. I was like, oh shit. Like, but I just never once did I'm like, wow, that was fucked, dude, and didn't care at all. So that was really kind of where
my whole theater had the moment when she's trashing the bathroom, like when she locks herself in there and she's just destroying it. I swear, like all the like it's all womanly moans of people like, oh no, sweetie, no, like that was like, oh girl, don't do that, and like when she starts squirting the lotion after ripping the sink out or whatever. And again, funny enough, I would say like that was a scene where, like you said, like if you're not bought in, you're like, what the crazy, what's he doing? But then the scene again for me that I loved was when Robert Pattinson starts making jokes about he's going to shit himself, and she's like, oh yeah, I do love you, I'll let you in, and then he's like, what the fuck happened here? So yeah,
I think we have to give the movie a bit more credit for its like how funny it is at times. Like, yes, it's like dark and uneasy, and it is pretty like, you know, feel bad, but I do think there is like a subtle humor to it, but even in how she interacts with people at the party. Like, her conversation with that woman kind of killed me, where she's like, just like firing back at all of her like weird prying assumptions about being a mother and all of that. And I don't know, it
being
kind
a mother
of
and a writer, having all that free time to write, and it's like, ooh, that's the wrong thing to say to her.
There was a part of me that was like very on board with it, because she's just like saying fuck you to all the like norms of polite
there's like
society.
there's like a category.
I was just gonna say she's giving into it. She's like, again, this is what kind of pissed me off, is like, I would have preferred one or the other. Like, you're bucking against the trends. Like, again, I was with you in that scene and laughing and shit, but then at the same time, like, this is coming off of the temper tantrum, which is what all I could see it as, in the bathroom, where I'm like, what the fuck? Like, whatever, people are people and we're complicated and we don't all make logical decisions. But it was like, I just like, again, even when I'm with her, it's like, but this is coming off of her having to explain why she has Band-Aids over all of her fingers. And it was because she was a 4-year-old that threw a temper tantrum and destroyed the bathroom. Like, I'm like,
but I mean,
I don't care.
I think you're taking it in too literal a way, maybe, because like, to you it's a temper tantrum, but if you've ever felt that level of like rage and like, I don't know, the feeling of just being out of your mind and like, helpless and isolated and all of that, like, it's an extreme reaction, sure, but it's also cinema, right? It's, if she just kind of like keeps that in, bottles it down, does what we all have to do, that's not a movie, right? This is like taking things to an extreme to convey a feeling. And like, I don't know, to me it was like something that I could understand and that spoke to me.
I do want to draw the parallel on that, like, as like the movie is wrapping up a little bit. Like, I think what I liked, and again, talking about like writing Robert Pattinson out of a corner from being like just dumb man the whole movie. He gets his shit together. He renovates the whole house while she's in the psych ward. You go from that trashed bathroom in this old house that has that oppressive, like, depressing, grandpa's suicide, farmhouse in the middle of nowhere vibe, to like an actual proper, like, elegant house for a home, for a wife, for a mother. And it's felt immediately when she walks in and we see her kind of reacting to like, oh, this, everything she could want as far as like out of him, he's delivered. And then I think that's when she is visually seeing the difference, and she's using that bathroom she trashed scenes ago and is kind of like, maybe I am the problem. I think that's kind of a nice distinction as far as like, it was a necessary, like, it gets worse before it gets better kind of thing. Visually speaking, like, I really like the idea that he flips the whole house and like gets the new truck. Like, his life with her is the best it could ever be. And even that last scene on the tailgate when he's with her and kind of saying that, like, I'll do everything for you. I will be the better man. I'll change. And she's like, well, I can't. And it was like, damn, that's tough. I would say, to vindicate Shea a little bit, like, I totally get it with like some of the over the topness, and I am still on more Adriana side with a lot of it. But I would say one negative that would come from all these scenes being so over the top is in a lesser movie, we would say where they're hitting the theme over the head, like they're just bashing us with like what they're trying to demonstrate or the message. I think this movie's good because all these scenes are so well done, like the beats are all well. But that being said, do we need 10 extra beats of Jennifer Lawrence? Like, you need the crazy ones to reach new highs, obviously. But I mean, like, there's so many tension building scenes. There's not a scene in this movie where I could go to the bathroom where I was like, oh, this is going to be the boring second act de-escalation. I can like step out for 5 minutes. Every scene was a valuable conversation that showed us insights to these characters. But that being said, like, did we really need so many moments where they were so unlikable or even likable? Like I said, it was a real roller coaster experience. But I think with If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, they had just the right amount of scenes, like the runtime for what was going on, for the ethereal elements. It was just enough of everything for it to not rub me the wrong way and rub you the wrong way. But I think with this movie, I could totally see that, by reinforcing this like psychosis she's going through, it definitely becomes a little bit like, okay, I get it, she's crazy, but now she's unlikably crazy. She's making all the wrong choices for the 15th time in a row and not like the 3rd or 4th time in a row. And I can totally see that.
I think, articulating maybe a better way of what I'm trying to get at. It's not the over the topness of the temper tantrum that bothers me. It's that it felt like it was the 60th one we've gotten in the movie. It impacted me in a zero way where it barely felt like an escalation over the fact that she had taken a dog outside, walked to her mom's house, grabbed a gun, walked all the way back, woke her husband up telling her to just shoot the dog, and then she just went and did it. So like, it just felt like, again, where every time I felt like there was a new thing. And I wonder how much of this is just comparison because we've seen them recently, but like every time something happened in Legs, I felt like I was just descending deeper down. And this one, I felt like I was in this exact same purgatory for like 2 hours. And maybe that was the point and what it wanted to convey. But as a viewing experience for me, it just, like that to me was the escalation point of the movie of like kind of no return. And that could be also subjective, me, dogs, the whole thing. But like that was such a wild moment to me conceptually that everything else felt like it was telling me that she's crazy in just less significant ways. And so like for me, I just like pacing wise, this felt a little off. There were just kind of regular beats. Like I just didn't know really what to make of it as a movie. As an experience, I know how it made me feel, but as a movie itself, like I said, I was just kind of left going like, well, that was bitches be crazy. That's what I said to Adriana after, like, that was all I could come up with. So
I get what you're saying, and we don't have to like keep hashing this over and over, but I do think that purgatory like quality that you identified is part of the point. Like I think part of the point and the problem is that she keeps doing these increasingly extreme things, and like no one is
getting
really
nowhere with it,
doing anything about it. Like it's, until finally, he has her committed. But yeah, like that's part of it, I think, is like you feel like you have to keep going to these extremes just to be seen or noticed or heard or, whatever it might be.
It's not that a movie, like, I want to make clear, I agree with you that I think it is part of the intent. But I think separating the intent from the impact is important. And we clearly experienced the movie differently in that way. So I don't want our conversations ever to be framed as this like right or wrong or correct or incorrect. Like I said, I agree. Like that was because I think if you're making the movie of like this madness and you're stuck and all of that, like that makes sense that way. But in terms of like, there's, I think, better ways to execute and maybe a couple less, like, again, to me, cutting out that biker character is one of those things that it did nothing other than to make me wonder more about her mental stability. So I think for me, it's really just the difference on how those kinds of things impacted us. And that's that, like that to me, that is what the cinema is that like we could have wildly different takes, and we've done it on this pod multiple times. But yeah, I think it's important to just say like, yeah, I'm me, and that colors how I experience art. And like I said, the fact that I came out of this and was like to Brandon, I was like, dude, I guarantee Brandon's gonna come out of the clouds and be like, bro, Robert Pattinson, the most relatable character
in all of cinema, dude.
And so and that's what I mean. Like, and that's the beauty of it all to me. And so like, yeah, I hope I wasn't coming across as like trying to frame this as like as if my interpretation was more or less correct, but I really wanted to hone in. Like, I think like I said, I agree with you that was part of the intentionality, because it's like, fuck, no matter what I do, I'm still here kind of thing. Like it's definitionally kind of the thing for purgatory. But yeah, for me, it was, like I said, it just didn't land in the way that I would have hoped. And that could be part of it too, that I really love. I keep forgetting the name of it all the time. You Were Never Really Here.
Yeah.
I loved that movie so much. And there's probably that dreaded E-word, Brandon, expectation that I probably brought to this a little bit, that I couldn't help separate a little bit probably too.
To be fair,
sorry, I just want to get
no. I think that was well put. And like, honestly, I think what I was going to say is like the missing link. And you're like, oh, not to compare it, but I think it's hard not to compare it to something so fresh, like If I Had Legs, because I think that's the key difference. Like when we're talking about the intentionality of setting up like the purgatory, stuck in your place feeling, very similar, but totally different approaches. Where with that movie, it was such a fast-paced roller coaster of like set piece to set piece, location to location, escalating. Whenever we came back to somewhere in Legs, it was always a worse version of where we came back to, where this movie constantly tries to hit like the relationship itself. It constantly tries to hit the reset of like, we're good now, right? You're back from the psych ward, the house is renovated. We're good now. No. Oh, okay. We killed the dog. We're good now. Jumps through the window. Well, earlier, like you were joking when I was like, yeah, they were good for a while. Honestly, if we watch this movie with a stopwatch, every scene, again, it's all very tight, but again, it does feel somewhat repetitive if you're in our mindset from the previous movie. But if you watch it with a stopwatch, when I said good for a while, I'm talking 4.5 minutes of runtime, which is record breaking because it is like 2.5 minute scenes where you buy in or you're like living in these moments. There's not a lot of breathing room, like If I Had Legs. But I think like, again, the intentionality to make it feel like extra oppressively stuck versus chaotically stuck, like where the main character in the other movie is just like, no matter where she goes or what she does, she's boned. Where this character, it's like, well, she really only has the house and she's on foot. Like she's not driving to the school. She's not going to her job. Like that's kind of the whole point too. So, to be the in between, I totally get it. Like if you compare it to that, which is hard not to, it's an anxiety inducing motherhood story. It's pretty 1-to-1. It's not like you're pulling something like, oh yeah, compared to Predator Badlands, I didn't like how the motherhood elements didn't line up with the fatherhood elements. Like I get it. So yeah, no, it is tough. And again, like the wedding conversation I had, this one, it's a good recommendation to film people, but again, I think on a casual level, it's a tough recommend. Just because of the nature of it. It is like, it's a very real movie. And I know you've had a very stable or like well thought out relationships, but as the Robert Pattinson stand-in here today, I would say like, it's a hard watch if you've ever been with a partner who,
as a guy who once had condoms in his truck for a long time, Brandon,
being accused of affairs and not doing enough and working too much. Dude, I'm right there. So yeah, no, I definitely like the movie a lot, but I don't disagree with any of your gripes because I felt them to a lesser extent. But it's definitely it's a mindset thing, like not to be the you here to my unnamed movie. We got an Oz Perkin review coming up in the near future, I feel, so I got to really dial in all the callbacks to that. But yeah, I definitely think there is that expectation, and it's hard not to be. Like, you guys didn't see trailers, but yeah, we're emotionally primed for this anxiety relationship drama from that movie we all loved. And I love that it's a good barometer to see where we all land on a similar themed movie. And also too, like, I want to get this in before we move on to our next feature film discussion, but I really like that Jennifer Lawrence is kind of doing the Emma Stone thing now. I'm going to do these artful movies with a lot of like gratuitously tasteful nudity in the movie. Like she's in this era now where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to do the big comedy box office, my easy A, my whatever. I'm going to do domestic abuse, nudity in the forest, the way Emma Stone's like, I'll do Yorgos Lanthimos's Poor Things, and have like 30 minutes of a sex montage where she, goes nuts, and it's full frontal nudity of an actress that was once like a young kind of teen hot girl is now like, no, I'm a mature hot woman now, and I'm doing 30-year-old nudity as opposed to 20-year-old gratuity. So yeah, I don't know. I like that career beat for her, and no
also
complaints from that for me.
Both doing like producing stuff, because like Jennifer Lawrence's company produced this, just like Emma Stone has like her own production company that's doing interesting things. But anyway, just to, I guess, to wrap up my thoughts on this, because I feel like I ended up in like oftentimes like more of a defensive role in response to your criticism, Shea, but I do kind of see where both of you are coming from, and I do think I felt some of those things to a degree, like some of the pacing and like some of the more like symbolistic elements, like just not really knowing what to make of them. But to me, this is a movie that, like, I haven't really stopped thinking about, and, like, I don't know, I always try to, like, latch on to those movies that leave me a bit puzzled or, like, not totally clear where I stand, because I think it's more compelling than, like, something that is just easy and that I forget about in a day or two. And yeah, as much as those maybe particulars didn't fully connect in some ways, I feel like the overall package was, like, something that I found compelling and, like, moving in a way, and yeah, that's kind of what I'm holding on to here, and yeah, that to me is worth a watch, at least, and worth a discussion for sure. So,
well, absolutely. And I think like that to me is, I think, to wrap this up before we get into the complete opposite, which I think is literally a designed movie to be kind of a universally enjoyed thing. Like, we have varying degrees of feelings. We sat and we watched the exact same thing, right? And this is what I love about movies, I think, in generally, which makes conversations more interesting about, particularly about movies like this, is that this is why you go see movies like this, because you and I can watch the exact same thing and be impacted in completely different ways. And that is to give Brandon a little slack, because I know I harp on him about this all the time, but that is purely about what we bring to it. We all just saw the same thing. We saw the exact same movie that everybody else saw, but it hits you differently. It hits you better. It hits you worse. It's more personal. It's less personal. Like, all of how you react to it is what you bring to it to a degree. It's just what it is, and what you feel is kind of up to you and based on all of those things. And I think, like, this is why I knew at the very least, before we even saw the movie, that I knew that this would be an interesting one to discuss, because like, I just knew that it would kind of hit that way. And to me, it's like, for me personally, and this is where I separate myself in terms of how I rated it for me versus what I recommended. And it's an absolute recommend. Like, there's thought here. There's a lot here to be commended. And I think it didn't hit for me in the way I would hope, but that's not the point of every movie. There's certain things that don't have to. That's not the purpose. And maybe it'll hit you in the same way as it did, like, Adriana or something. So anyway, definitely go out and see it.
What I love about this is that mom and dad here have been arguing about their opinion on the movie for a good chunk of the podcast. But I would say that you guys are generally, like, within, like, on a letterbox style, like, you're within a star to half a star of each other. Like, you both enjoyed it. The difference being is if you connected with it. And like we talked about that in Him, you don't have to relate to a main character to connect. And I think that's like the thing. Obviously, again, everything art is subjective, and it's definitely an artsy movie and full of a lot of complex emotions. And like, again, I couldn't recommend this to a lady at the wedding last night, because people sometimes don't want that. They want their escapism. So
yeah,
totally understandable. And that's why I'm stoked to talk about Predator Badlands. But
I think if nothing else, like, I'm super, super happy that Lynn Ramsey is making movies, and she's kind of doing them her own way. Like, I think she's, like, super unique filmmaker, and yeah. Go see it if you can.
It's already made more money than You Were Never Really Here, which is a good
like,
sign.
no one saw that movie.
Yeah, well, it came out to an indie theater in Ottawa is where I saw it. So yeah, like, it's not, but like, yeah, this is what I mean. Like, I would so much rather her do, like, her own thing and, like, keep making movies that you want to make, because whether they hit or not, the experience is memorable. And, like, when they hit, man, they hit real good. And that's the difference between, I think, like, safe stuff and challenging stuff. You should always, again, I love Top Gun Maverick, one of my favorite movies of all time, but, there's different times where you want different things. And I think things like this are why I really love movies.
And speaking of safe stuff, You guys can talk about Predator now. And I'm gonna go.
Thanks for joining us, Adriana. We'll see you on the next one.
Yep. Thanks for the conversation. Love it as always. And
thanks for being here to be somebody I could side with, so that way Shea doesn't immediately say that my opinion's wrong.
I feel like lately you and I have been agreeing
we've been
more
vibing.
and more, so we've been on the same page.
You Frankenstein lovers.
Which is out now on Netflix. At the wedding last night,
so vindicated. A lot of people bagging on it on Twitter right now. And
dude, our top comment is, I think you need to see it twice, man. I don't agree at all. Like, there's a one comment on our thing, not to get to our metrics, because I love the metrics, but yeah, one of my favorite comments was like, I think you need to watch it again. It looked grimy as hell, dude. And I was sitting there like, yeah, you tell them.
Dude, I saw it in IMAX, not at home on your shitty little TCL $200 TV, dude. Whoever you are, I'm calling you out, dude.
I might go watch Frankenstein again right now.
Yeah, I want to see it twice. I gotta show my girlfriend to be like, sees and Shea wrong, and knowing my luck, my girlfriend's like, no, actually, I think he's really right on that point. I feel like when I disagree with my girlfriend
on your
about
shitty
movies,
little Samsung, it'll look crappy.
Oh, little 70 inches. But yeah, anyways, it's not about size. Yeah.
All right, that's my
thanks
cue
for
to
joining
leave.
us.
Goodbye.
Yeah. We're going to compare sizes as soon as you leave. All right. See you later. So finally, we get to talk about an easy watch after that domestic story. So anyways, to kick off, I would like to say, how do you think I like this movie, given the family dynamics between the Yautja's father and his quest to find acceptance?
Well, I don't want to kick it off with spoilers, but I will just say the brother-father beefing and all of that, like, there was a lot of family components to this. In some ways, you could say this was Predator's version of Fast and the Furious, dude, just like you.
I use that example all the time where I'm like, I'm kind of the heel of the podcast. I compare great art house movies like one after another to Fast and the Furious or Piranha 3 Double D. So
in some ways, Predator Badlands is the best Fast and Furious movie of all time.
There's no car chases.
Well, there is chase scenes though.
Actually, it's the Fast and the Furious. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I would say starting off spoiler free as we try to. I am wildly surprised that a PG-13 Disney movie could make me enjoy it so much. I think I was a little apprehensive, being like, this is old IP. They're trying to franchise. This is PG-13. I don't know if I'm going to find my way in on this and just feel like it's slop. And I was kind of excited to see where you fell on this, because our podcast was predicated on a drunk phone call where I was going on about how awesome Alien Romulus was. Again, similar franchise under the Disney umbrella, similar old IP, and we'll get into it, but it's interesting. We both seem to have really liked this one, and I'm actually really excited to see if we line up as much as we might. But yeah, I can't recommend it enough. I would say go see it. It's a great family movie. Funny enough, I would say it's a good gateway to like action horror almost. If you're a longtime fan, or maybe you have kids and you're wanting to watch something that's kind of an easy view that is not boring.
Longtime fan of kids.
Sorry, longtime fan of Predator Kids. That's how many times I can say that back to back. But yeah, no, I'm friends with a guy who was a stuntman in this movie, and he was seeing it with his whole family, and I was like, yeah, it's a great family movie, but it's not toothless. Like, a lot of the action scenes in this, even for like a diehard horror action guy, you're still gonna go like, oh wow, like that was, it's brutal, because they do use androids for a lot of the killing and dismemberments, and I think that's a great creative choice, because I hope a lot of people see this coming into November after a record low box office for the month of October. I think somebody posted that it was like a 30-year drought, basically. If you exclude COVID, last October with The Smashing Machine and Tron Ares was the lowest box office in the month of October for Hollywood. So I hope this isn't a Tron Ares. I hope people don't go, oh, a new Disney property franchise, I don't care. This Predator movie, the director of it, this is his third Predator movie, but his first one in a theater. And all of his Predator properties are handled with like great care and understanding of like the little bit of lore that, these movies have injected with each entry. And yeah, nothing but positives. On a spoiler free level, I got to say, just go check it out. A great action movie. I'm hoping, this is a controversial statement for Shea, but I'm hoping this is on Disney Plus by Christmas, because I would watch this with my boys on a couch. I would tell my dad to put it on. Yeah, just a very light, easy recommend, which is rare, I feel, lately, especially with all of our traumatic viewing experiences. But yeah, what would you say?
Yeah, so for me, it was a lot of fun. I had a blast with this movie. It was exactly what I kind of hoped it would be. We'll get into the kind of nitty gritty on why I think that is, but I really think to separate this from Alien, because I thought a lot about it too. They're very, obviously they overlap now. A lot of them, they're associated to the same universe, even in this movie as well. Um, this to me is an example of when you have kind of reverence for an IP, like for something, and this is where you're doing your version of something you love. Where to me, Alien Romulus was a beat for beat rehash of the things about Alien that you love. So, like this movie really hones in on the setup and plays with that, which is like literally from the opening shot. This isn't a spoiler, where we see a small bug eat a smaller bug, and then a frog eats that bug, and then a bigger lizard eats that frog. Like it
and then
very
ran over
from
by
the
a pod
opening
racer.
bit. Yeah, exactly. So right out of the gate, right where this is the setup of Predator. It's the name, it's the whole kind of shtick. And instead of just being like, remember Arnold Schwarzenegger, remember all of this bit,
Danny
remember
Glover,
when they were in New York, like
the xenomorph in the spaceship.
It's not about just kind of like hitting these beats. It was its own thing. And
it's a movie for the fans without fan service, which is really rare for a Disney property.
Oh, and this is like even the inclusion, like again, not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. It's also not consequential really to the movie at all, but like the Weyland-Yutani Corporation exists in this movie, and so again, the worlds of Alien and Predator are still linked here, but they're not included to be like, oh, remember Weyland-Yutani? Oh my god, this could set up something so big.
David from Prometheus is going to show up.
Exactly, like, and
that doesn't happen.
This also still not a spoiler. There is a scene where they have like the Predator wall where the trophies are hung up in the ship. Like, I don't even think, like, I didn't see it, and I looked every time. They didn't even have like an alien head on that wall, an alien skull on the wall. So this is not a movie that's.
But they had alien heads.
This isn't. Yeah, well, yes, alien, yes.
Lots of aliens.
This is a movie that's so not worried about any of that. It is self-contained. You don't have to see anything else to appreciate it, and it's not derivative of other things you might have seen that you really love. Now, by no means is this like some grand example of like a reinvention of popcorn cinema or something, like, not at all, but it's just a very well executed version of that. And this was like constant just like enjoyment and smiles, and like even like the sequences, like it's a lot of CGI obviously, but like there's just so much little detail and craft there that like it does look good. They do weave a lot of practical action in there at different beats that is shot a lot better than most of the other stuff is today. And then again, just like on a character level, I think they just like I appreciated almost the purity of this. Like, it has its emotional beat. We have our motivation. We understand why the characters are where they are, but like it's still never not a fun movie to watch. And I think that is, to me, like that's like the highest praise you can give, really, is a blockbuster kind of movie like this. And Dan Trachtenberg is the one that made this movie. He made Prey, which this is in response. The fact that this has got a theatrical release, and I'm assuming a much larger budget than Prey, was because of, like, I was so fucking pissed that went straight to Disney or Hulu or whatever it was in the States, Disney Plus here. And
I totally saw Prey on streaming.
It was such a good movie. It never got a theatrical release at all.
Well, what I was saying was, like, I totally saw it on streaming months after it came out because I just didn't care. I was like, oh, a streaming Predator property. That was at the height of all the Marvel TV shows, and I was just kind of like, I don't know. I was really buying into like that whole like it's all doomed fallacy. And then when I watched Prey, falling asleep, I like turned it off to watch it in my living room the next day because I was like, oh, this is good. Like, this is a good movie. It's a good setting. It's an understanding of like, and a lot of people too at the time were like, dude, they should just do this for different time periods. Put Predator in the Old West, put Predator against a samurai. Like, Honestly, it sounds easy and it's like a no-brainer. And so I'm kind of impressed too that Dan Trachtenberg, because he also did like the animated Predator movie that was really well received, and
kind of like was what that was. It was different layers of like there
the
was
mythos and
samurais.
Yeah. And I really feel like, you know, it would have been an easy home run if they're just like they saw the top comment being like, put him against feudal Japan samurais, and he could have just done that and put it in theaters, and I still would have been like, wow, that was excellent. But they chose like a very alternative route. This feels like 5 years ago, if somebody told me this was going to be a big release, I would have thought it would have bombed, and I also would have thought like, oh, that's fan fiction. Like the focus on like the runt predator going to an alien planet, meeting weyland-yutani androids, and you know, learning some lessons along the way. I was like, corny, skip. But yeah, like you, I can't say enough about like just how well executed and simple, minimal dialogue. Just they give you enough to have like themes and characters and motivations, but they're not doing those things that you and I talk about where you get a phone call that's like, remember what you're doing, remember that you have a child or something. Like it's straight up just there are callbacks to lines that solidify stuff, but it's done in like a tasteful, almost snarky way. Like there's like 4 or 5 jokes maybe in the movie that the Predator makes, and they all kind of work because it's like he's not supposed to be funny, and it's very dry and just more so reminding you. And sometimes it's almost sad where he makes the joke where it's like, fuck you, you know, is his tone like throughout it. So yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, I absolutely agree about the whole Prey going to theaters thing. Like they could have just done Predator Japan or Predator Old West or Predator Medieval Times, you know. I'm so glad they have this really original thing.
This isn't a spoiler because as far as I know, it's not happening, but if it does happen, that'd be great. And it's not a spoiler of anything with this movie, but one of the proposals that he said he initially pitched, or one of his initial ideas anyway, was about Predator killing Nazis in World War II. Like, dude, yes. Like, it's simple if you just execute it well and you know what it is. Like, this is kind of the thing. Like, we've talked about it all the time. Just be confident in what you are. It is okay to be that movie where that's all that movie is. Like, that's okay to be that and lean into that. And this movie, like, it just takes, again, the Predator, it's in the name, it's the titular concept, and then it's sort of brilliant in its simplicity of just being like, and now he's on a planet where literally everything is designed to kill. The trees, the plants,
the bugs, the grass,
every animal. Yeah, like all
the
of
tree
it is
branches are also deadly. It's like, god damn.
Well, okay, so let's dig into the spoilers a little bit because this bit I want to talk about. Yes, go see it. Don't watch if you haven't, and come back and listen to this.
If you sat through the hour of the domestic abuse story, stop now and go watch Predator. That's an easy recommend. Come back.
If you were listening to us talk about it and be like, this movie sounds like it's not for me, then this is the movie for you. That's what we're saying right now. But yeah, so when he grabs that bug, dude, huge fucking pop in the theater when it starts bubbling and he throws it in a fucking huge explosion.
Yeah.
Like
it was so funny.
Yeah, and it was like, because it was just great. It really understood sort of the assignment there and what it was doing. And I think for me, that was really the part that was the most impressive, was that like it just was so pure and so clean. But when it throws the bug, like that was the start and where I kind of became on board with the movie, where I was just like, yes, like it knows what it is, it's committing to it, and it's doing it in a fun way.
Yeah, and again, it's funny because I think like I was listening to this thing where they're talking about like how they're losing like Gen Z and Gen Alpha boys to the movie market. Like, and I find this all the time. I meet a movie buff at a wedding. It's like, I see a ton of movies. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, what have you seen recently? He's like, oh, I saw Sinners. I'm like, oh, like the re-release? No, when it came out. And I'm like, oh, okay, in March. You know, and there's people that see 2 to 3 movies a week. One's a slow week for me now. And that used to be like a good week. So
yeah.
Anywho, I think it's really fascinating because the thing that these people were discussing was like how Gen Z and Gen Alpha men and boys are not going to theaters. And when they were asked what do they want, you would assume they want vapes and more iPhones in theaters. But they actually said, like what we always say, is just more original ideas and stories and not trying to do too much. And even though this movie, I would say does set up like a very franchisable IP. It's not dedicated to that the way a lot of other Disney properties have been. This does feel like such an original idea. Like it puts the predator, it's like a fish out of water a little bit, but it's not that ham-fisted. It's like, let's put the predator as the prey. And he doesn't ever feel like he's the victim. He really is doing the most. Like the predator in this movie, as is established, he's the runt of his family, and the Yautja culture, that's they basically are just setting up to kill him because he's not worthy of being alive, because he's small. Like he's like a foot and a half shorter than all the other predators. Yeah, call the weak. And his brother, who owes him like a bit of a life debt, literally puts himself on the line to send his brother on his mission to prove himself and earn his cloak. I like that tie back, that the cloak, the invisible technology we all know of for the predators, is like a rite of passage when you're actually a part of the clan and sworn in. Coming of age story. This is a coming of age story for a predator. You have to go on a great hunt to prove your predatorness, your masculinity. And I love that. Like that's like a small beat. You have to earn your cloak, and that's like the thing. So anyways, the long story is his brother sacrifices himself, his dying wish, basically, to get him to go on this suicide mission to kill the apex predator of the crazy killer planet that no predator has ever successfully been able to kill. But because our main character has this complex, he's a short king and he's trying to compensate, he goes after the biggest, baddest thing. And for a while there I was like, oh, okay, are they gonna really drag their feet, being like, look how scary this is? But for like 30 minutes straight, it is like there is no relief for our predator. Like you do think that this still like 6'5" plus Yautja killer with all his gear is so ill-equipped to like just drink water and breathe. Like every breathing moment this guy has, he finds the bug and it's about to explode. And the scene where they're like, oh yeah, go kill the bone bison. That's what the big bad predator on the planet eats. He's like, so if he's the apex predator eats that, I will eat that. And it's like, it's in a field of literal razor blade grass. And it's like, God damn, nothing is good here. Even a scene where they're in like a very idyllic meadow, there are these plants that regenerate instantly, shooting paralyzing poison darts that even one of them, which I'm surprised only one of them hit the predator, it knocks you right out, and then a vulture eats you. Like it is hostile and well done. I feel like, I know I'm tangenting here, but like comparing this to something that I actually don't love that much, like the Avatar series, like when it's a technical spectacle where you're watching aliens on an alien world, you do kind of forget after a while you're not watching human faces. And I think they do a really good job effects wise. But I mean, as far as like understanding the character's motivations, we don't need Jake Sully being told about all this stuff. We don't need all this background lore, all this whatever. They just dump us straight into this thing. It's very cut dry. It's like, he's weak, he's not deserving to be a predator. He goes on this crazy ego quest to get this thing. And like an Avatar, like he learns lessons about the way of the world along the way, makes some friends. And it's like, that sounds terrible to me, but I think they wove it in such a way that you empathize, you feel the threat. I was worried you can't follow the predator around feeling like, oh, he's not going to survive X, Y, and Z. Like there are many moments where you're like, oh, this guy's about to get his shit rocked. He's not going to live beyond like 20 more minutes of screen time. So that was a tangent, but yeah. Also on the Avatar note, the same guy that made the language for Avatar was hired to make the Yautja language for this movie. So production wise, I'm glad they spent money to actually flesh out a real dialogue, because I was going to make the bit until they introduced actual English-speaking characters. This is the greatest foreign film I've ever seen. Like, reading Yautja subtitles for the first 20 minutes, I was like, I'm actually not even offended by this. This is great. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, a good chunk of the movie is in, I don't know what the language is called, Yautja language or whatever. But yeah,
Yautjanese or whatever.
But even the way they explain that is really funny. Like me and Ty really laugh when she's like, yeah, your ears, it's like the universal translator, I think Ty said, from like Star Trek or whatever. It's like your ear just hears what language you need. So it's a universal translator.
Also, actually, that's the only plot hole in that movie, eh? When later on, she's having to be the communicator for him in the convoy or whatever. It's like, do they not all have that? Because the other sister does. I know they say that they're special, but it's kind of like, could they also
out on
not?
this? she had to turn it on. She says like she's like, oh, I'm using my, when she's stuck in the thing, she's like, oh, I'm using my universe, let me switch, and she does a thing and turns
but I don't know
on.
why
so it's not on by default.
But I don't know why the people interrogating him being like, why didn't they just go, all right, now tell us how you're, you know what I mean? Again, small gripe. Like I have a handful of nitpicks that I need because I was struggling leaving the theater. I was like 5 stars all the way. Great movie. But I'm like, I can't give this objectively the same hype rating because I don't think it's like, you know, like a phenomenal movie. I think it's an amazing movie. So that's why I like our Heartometer, because I'm like, I love it. But I feel like it's really hard to christen it as like a perfectly amazing movie just because there's small little, you know, like, and you need those. You need some of those little moments because otherwise, you could logic this movie to a point where there's no satisfying conclusion.
Right.
But yeah, you know, there's obviously bits and moments that are like a little Disney-like. But again, like understanding that this is just fresh material from an old IP for the fans, for a wide audience, and it succeeds on delivering so many great set pieces and beats and stuff. It's just like, who am I to be like, well, actually, I thought it was a little too kid-friendly the way they tied that back. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that much of a snob.
In part, it's meeting movies where they are, right? Like, what is this intending to be? Who is it for? And whatever. And it's like, if you go to watch like an obvious like kids animated movie or something like that, you can't be like, well, I think it was a little too kid friendly. Well, that's what it is, right? And this is very much in the spirit of like just a blockbuster spectacle popcorn kind of movie that's a lot of fun. And that really is what it delivers. But to give it, like, I wanted to, one of the things, because you started talking about it, was that razor grass scene, and it was the introduction to one of my favorite characters in the movie, Bud, what then is ultimately revealed to be a baby Callisk, the thing they're trying to hunt,
the apex predator on the planet.
But the thing that's so brilliant about that introduction that it didn't even clock to me until Ty and I were asking is that we're introduced to those monsters in the grass as the prey of the Callisk, and Bud is trying to hunt the same bone bison thing. So he the evidence was that it was there right out of the gate that this is baby Callisk. Dude. So that was like there. For any other little maybe nitpicks you had, there was like that moment when I thought after the fact was fucking brilliant because like they don't hide it, and at that point, because you don't know what the Callisk is other than just a big monster, like it worked beautifully, and I thought that was such a great bit.
I was doing the thing that you tell me not to do, and I was trying to like think of like, you know, quips about the movie in the movie, and immediately I was going like, okay, this is where it must go downhill because I'm enjoying the movie so much, and then they've introduced a plucky, plushy, cute alien sidekick. I'm like, they're trying to Star Warsify this by having like those cute droids or cute little aliens for us to be like, oh, that's good merch, you know? But the fact that it actually, like, again, every little tie-in or callback feels set up and earned. Like you said, I didn't even clock that because like, he shares the meat with it. And the scene where it spits on him. And I thought it was just going to be like that classic, like, you know, joke where it's like how certain Asian cultures slurp their bowl of noodles, which we were like, oh, that's rude. You're like, no, that's their way of saying it's great, you know? And I was like, okay, that's a fun little bit. But then, that ties in where, also, you know, like we joke about like big CGI finales where it's just two big gray monsters or two big armies fighting it out. With the pacing and the second act low, which is what I always like say is like the bathroom break, is not a low at all. It is this big fight with the Callisk, and truthfully, I believe the Predator would have won that. Like the Predator, if he was like a little better prepared with his gear, which the Wayland Corporation uses, I really love that he actually went toe to toe with this thing. Like, part of the thing is like you, the audience, are rooting for him, and you believe that he actually is suitable. He is worthy of being a predator because he is putting the work in. And then it was a gut wrenching twist when it's like, oh, actually, this crazy demon thing has like ungodly regeneration powers.
Regenerates.
Even the head reattaching it, and the one, like, again, one of those like moments where you're like, oh, the predator's got to stop aura farming and like keep going here, was when he cuts the head off and the head starts slowly reattaching. I was like, bro, stop that right now. It is not moving, like, please. And he's just like looking at him like, bro, please, like, keep fighting. And then, it derails, but it was phenomenal.
Even,
like, in that sense.
Even that bit being like, again, the regenerative nature of that, like, logically, again, to give this movie credit on its script and concepts, is that, like, of course, on a planet where everything's killing you, the apex predator is something that can't be killed, right? Like
like an immune,
it's not just that it's the toughest. It literally, you cut its head off, it reattaches, and it keeps going.
And I think that they also do
like,
that thing where they explain, because immediately my thought was, okay, as somebody who watched a lot of the movies, does it regrow a head or does the head regrow a body? And in this case, also with that same
both.
movie rot, it's both, but you're also like, if he got the head further from the body, would it die? Like, like you start logically as like a movie nerd being like, could he actually, you think there's going to be like a Vsauce episode where like, hey, technically if you chop the head off the calyx and you threw it 500 meters, that's the regeneration, So again, there's all these little things in there they don't explain or need to explain. It's very visually understandable, but yeah, like they give you just enough understanding of like everything. And it's beautifully simple and executed well. Again, like I feel like I keep saying it, but yeah, dude, that calyx fight, I was hyped and I was like, my short king's putting the bricks on this thing. Like, hell yeah, dude. And the way they weave it, because I thought that was gonna be the end of the movie. I was like, wow, this movie's pacing is phenomenal. And then when that was like the end of the second act, going into like the real meat and potatoes like finale, it built beautifully, and like we get a lot of great like android violence after that, and that's when it kind of like solidifies more the themes on family and those earlier ties where she explains her android sister or her android co-worker as like a sister, and he's like sister, and I'm like, okay, Disney lame. And then they tie it in beautifully because it mimics his arc, and again, I think in a lesser movie, I'm like, that was so on the nose, that was so Disney, but again, in this one, it was like, oh, just enough. They didn't ream on it. They didn't, constantly say like, I have to save her, she's my sister. They do that one time, and obviously it doesn't go according to plan. The expectations aren't met, and again, it was just a simply well-told movie without bullshit, and that's so refreshing because whatever gripes about Alien Romulus just weren't there.
And to give it credit too, like in a sense that like, because we've both said the same thing, like it's so like sort of beautiful in its simplicity, but it's actually such a hard thing to do because you need to do like for these kinds of themes you're talking about, right? The needle to thread that is actually pretty tough because you either have it so undercooked, it's like, why did you bother putting it in? Like it's just wasted and it's useless, or it's too overdeveloped that you feel the movie stalling, and like you're like, oh, okay, we have to get this obligatory bit in, and like this, like so again, it's not that it's easy to do, it's not, but it's like to do it and make it so clean is it feels simple to execute because it's just the right amount of that kind of character beats, the development, the clan, the family angle that you were talking about, like all of that really comes together in a way that like it never feels inorganic. It never feels like we're screeching to a halt to do this. Like they even like planning when those beats are, like I said, I feel bad because it's not as bad as I keep like harping on the movie itself, but like in Abigail, where it's like the climactic third act screeches to a halt for a phone call, whereas
I love you, I'm a single mom.
The longest like kind of beat where the movie stops is right after they do that initial hunt and they almost get killed from the tree thing and they're just cooking and eating. So like organically, like it's following like a high intensity bit. It makes sense why the characters would be sitting and resting, and then you take advantage of that time, and it makes sense for the audience that is now resting from the sequence we just experienced, which was great energy and very kinetic. So like it's about picking when you do those things, and like this is where I think Dan Trachtenberg, like God, like they gotta be, I'm so glad they recognized what they had here with him, because he clearly, like, this was all evident in Prey, that this is a guy that gets this, can have fun, like do this well and make the most out of a little. Like that was a much simpler, I'm assuming much smaller budget, and this one is a bigger budget, but even still, like relative to the day, it's 105 million is the reported budget for this movie, which by
today's standards pretty modest
now is great, and it's already made, and this is the key about responsible budgeting, is that 80 million is what it's showing right now on the box office, and we're recording this Sunday night, so that's not even a full accurate recap of the whole weekend yet, of opening weekend. So that's
even
a
when we
great
talked about
sign too.
like Black Phone, we were like, oh, it had like a 40 million budget and it made 15. We're like, oh, that's a really good sign, and to make 80 mil of 100, that's huge, obviously marketing and whatnot, but yeah, that's a huge sign, especially when, the Trinaries of it all, where it's like that movie is bombed time and time after, like it's got the Morbius effect. But yeah, no, the box office is a good sign, because like I was worried, being coming out of October that was like abysmal, that this movie would be similarly swept under by the same people who are like, I'll just wait for streaming, it's a Disney property, it's an action movie, I don't need to go see. I think like the people who know, and the people that trust Dan Trachtenberg, similar to us, were like, oh, he's getting theatrical after knocking out of the park with Prey, and the animated one being a good like intermediate movie. Stoked. I kind of like, I mean this non-cynically, it's going to come off cynical, but I hope Dan Trachtenberg gets to become like the Kevin Feige of this IP, because I really trust him. I know in 10 years on the pod I'll be like, oh, fucking Danny T ruining the franchise with but no, I really think like I was so blown away that they went such an original route, and they expand a little bit of the lore, and I think all the stuff you see on the Predator homeworld, like I was going to ask you, I was getting anxious, surprisingly, thinking about how they were going to end the movie, because it was doing everything I wanted, and that's when I'm like, oh, if they blow they don't stick the landing, how am I going to be able to rave about this movie? Because I had that thought of like, well, he's either got to kill the baby's mother and bring the head home to get that pat on the back, attaboy, and then that will feel hollow, so he's got to reject it after. Side note, I played football for the high school that we went to, and the first year of the tryouts, 2 women went to the tryouts and they made the team, and everyone's like, oh, hey, that's awesome, we're accepting and inclusive. And the 2 women quit the team after the first day of practice, because like, we just did this to prove women can, and they quit. I'm like, well, now that's giving us a bad rap. It's like, to kill the giant, apex predator, to prove his dad that he is a big honcho, and then reject it would give me that same hollow vibe. So I kept worrying, how are they going to make this a resonant ending? And even at the end, when he comes back to the planet and he delivers the android skull, and it's really underwhelming, even as an audience member, I was like, yeah, dude, there's no way you're going to be able to tell your dad that was better than the actual apex predator you killed. Mm-hmm. The Calyx, I think that's an IKEA shelf name too.
Well, but hold on, that's a note to make. He doesn't kill it, right? She does. So that's like, he doesn't kill the Calyx.
Well, so that was the thing. I was thinking like, oh, ethically, like I was trying to like, write the end of the movie as it was happening, so I could feel like I was smart. And I was like, well, yeah, she'll obviously kill it, and then he'll have to say to like the little baby, like, hey, bro, I'm so sorry about your mom. I got to take the head back with me in the ship. So I wondered how they were going to make that work without it being like, kind of ruining the building that it does. And yeah, with the ending, when they have again another pretty well choreographed fight scene, and in classic Predator fashion, and I'm kind of going too far forward, and we'll come back to it. I like that it becomes a resourcefulness challenge, be it Prey or the original Predator. The difference between like, a 5'3" Native American woman fighting a predator versus Arnold Schwarzenegger versus even this Yautja who's a foot shorter fighting the predator. It's not about the physicality. It's about like the smarts and like the will of the warrior. And again, that's why it's like, oh, they got to do like a Japan samurai one, because he figures out he can he can counter the cloak by using the dust of the ship, catch his dad off guard. Like it was well thought out in all those ways. And yeah, banger one-liner ending. He's like, I have my own clan now, and they do the Avengers pose with the grown-up little baby and the android. I was like, I don't care if that felt like an Avengers Guardian of the Galaxy team up kind of finale. I think that stuck the landing for me, and I wasn't expecting that. I was like, this is gonna let me down. I'm gonna go, ooh, it's so corny. But no, I think it landed. And then also the post-credit scene where the big fleet of ships shows up, and they're like, who could that be? Your dad's dead. And he's like, my mom. And then it cuts to black. I was like, yo, mommy issues too. Let's go, dude. I was so stoked. But yeah, just to say the resourcefulness, like that third act where he's gearing up using all the alien lessons he's learned from the planet. Again, it's like very simple screenwriting. They just reincorporated what they show us with a sense of purpose for the finale. I love that. the little snake creature becomes his shoulder-mounted cannon kind of thing.
Cannon.
And it shoots acid, which is perfect for the androids. And, you know, we get the best parts of the Alien movies, which is like androids getting fucked up and melting. And just watching the Alien Earth TV show, that was kind of neat, but a bit of a letdown. You know, I was like, dude, this is getting the other franchise right in this franchise. Like, again, Dan Trachtenberg knocking it out of the park. So, yeah, I love the gearing up montage. I love the idea that it's like, obviously, like, this is how you do it playbook style, but sometimes you need that. Like, they showed us Iron Man in film school, like the 2008 Iron Man, to be like, this is textbook filmmaking. You start with an establishing shot of the Hummer convoy, then a close up on the truck he's in, and then a conversation scene. Like, that's just by the books filmmaking, and that's what launched the MCU. Similar here, it's like by the books, third act, character gets what he thought he wanted, finds new purpose, has to learn all the lessons we saw him learn throughout the movie, arms up, and has this like also badass, like, this movie's badass, but it's like he's got the bone buffalo armor plate. He could have put on his brother's helmet, but he makes his own out of the bone plate, and then he becomes like alien jungle predator in his own movie. And it's like, yeah, dude, like he earns his stripes 3 times over in this whole movie. And that finale where he's just taking out the androids and using the bugs in that way, using like the blow darts. Because I thought, how is a paralyzer blow dart going to work on an android? Like, oh no, that's actually just the mechanism to set off the explosive bugs. And even if it's kind of like, again, like I say the word aura farming, where he's just like sitting in the pose and all the androids have him dead to rights. It's just like, you know what, fuck it. Good badass action movie moment where he's got the drop on them with their hidden bug explosive blow darts. I was like, just that fucking sentence I said was like, wow, dude, yeah, hell yeah. Crack a white monster and go see this movie. This is such a hell yeah movie. I adored it.
Yeah, dude. It's just so much, like, again, like I just want to make sure too we reiterate that, like, again, we're both talking about this as like simplistic, but if it was easy, it's simple, but it's not easy. And if it was easy, then everyone would do it this way. One of my favorite bits about like every establishing shot in this movie is something is killing something else in the establishing shots. Like, they'll be like, oh, it's the big view of the planet, and you'll see like a bird flying, get eaten by like a fucking thing hanging off a cliffside and shit like that. Like, it's just so aware. So like every time a bit like that happened, instead of rolling my eyes, I'm laughing with it. Like, I'm like, you're just, it's about setting it up in a way that it feels earned. And that's where, like, you love, like, again, I thought Elle Fanning in this was fucking brilliant in kind of the dual roles. Like, she was perfect and played them both off each other, like, really well. But to the point that, like, I was blown away. I did not know he was in any promotional shit. If he was, I have no idea. But Bud, which I have to say, like, instantaneously, I was like, this is very Dutch coded. From the little jowls to the big bulging eyes, it was hard for me not to separate that. And Ty said the same thing afterwards. But like, that introduction, like, I just thought that was another, right, the way that happens. I was like, oh, it's just another monster, right, whatever. And then how it comes up and saves them. And then just like, I like you said about like Grogu, and they always try to like throw in a cute character and shit. I was worried that this was going to be the same way. I was exactly with you on that. But the only two guys now, the two that I think absolutely nail this every time they do it, is now Dan Trachtenberg with this one, but James Gunn. James Gunn has a phenomenal ability to put these kinds of like animal characters, or like even cute animals, like in the most recent season of Peacemaker, there's this, it's a random bit, but they go into a different dimension, and there's these cute little like gummy bear looking things that then turn vicious and start attacking. Like, but at the moment, like, it's something, I don't know if it's about the design, I don't know what it is, but like, just something that there's such a touch to that like you saw. It was so cute when he's like reaching for the food, and like it just worked. To the point when he left him, I was like heartbroken. I'm like, no. You wanted him so badly. So because you care, you intrinsically care, then it becomes tremendously easy to feel triumphant in the moment where they do their Avengers Assemble bit at the end, and you're like, hell yeah, dude, because you like all of them there, and the movies made you care about them, so you like that they get this triumphant kind of moment together, you know?
It was so good and deliberate, and like even the reveal, you know, they don't, they do explain it, but I mean, you know, the audience can get it when he's fighting the calyx thing, and it's a crazy battle, and the audience will pick it out pretty quickly if you're not like very low IQ, I guess. But when he stomps the predator and he's about to like eat him or something, and he gets that close up on his face and they're face to face, and you see he's got the same kind of jowls, because you don't really look at the face, you're seeing the hulking size, and you're like, oh, and he sniffs him, and it's really obvious.
It's got like the Brussels or like the beard too, and stuff like.
Great
so it looks different
design.
Enough that you don't clock it right away.
Yeah. It's so good, and then like
when they
kinda,
sniff, the spit comes around, right? Like,
and then because it felt so almost corny again. Like I had my walls up watching this, because it felt kind of corny when she's like, that's their way of saying it's a part of your family. You're a part of its family, and he's like, I do not have family. He's just, and then later when it comes back, you're like, oh, and I don't know. Again, like the relatability to the Predator, I thought was like well executed, in the sense where it's like, they give us a character that could be a stand-in for somebody who's A, an abused child, B, socially autistic, and C, a short king. And like, that's where you find your way in, I think, as an average viewer. And I think everything was thought of, and that's so rare to say about like a franchise Disney property. I can't say that enough, because I really thought I would hate it. And I kept finding moments where I'm like, I bet that's going to be annoying later. I bet that monkey character is going to be a plucky sidekick. I even was like, when he leaves the monkey, and everyone's like, I hear one person there go, no, like when he like left in the night or whatever. I definitely thought like, oh, okay, third act, he's going to be dead to rights, like under the gun or something. And then he's going to super monkey ball his way in and knock the gun out of someone's hand. And then they'll be like, yeah, you did it. You came back. But no, it's a deliberate choice when the Predator's arming up to go back and be like, I'm sorry, we're the same. I see you, Jake Sully, come with me. And it feels a lot more earned and like, if not natural, just more earned. And it's like, I really feel like everything in this movie is earned through the choices. And like you said, there's a worse version of this movie where the Predator in that third act low, the bathroom break I talk about, is like, he goes back to his ship remains, and his broken ship starts getting a telegraph, message from his dad being like, don't come back because you're a disappointment, reminding us the stakes. But it doesn't do that. Like, there's, it would have been easier in worse hands to be worse. And again, like it's refreshing. And like, I think again, if this was like Kevin Feige's version or whatever, the post-credit scene would have been fucking, I don't know, David from Prometheus showing up, like I joked about, being like, you're a rare life form, let me show you how to play the flute. And it's like a joke in the credits, but instead it does very fast and hard cut, like after the initial credit finisher. And like you said, we were talking in our last movie about having good themes and repeating your themes and showing us, but it can be a little much. Like what you pointed out with the establishing bits, always having something dying or being eaten or preyed upon. It's done tastefully, because I think the flip side for me, as a guy who hated the monkey, you would have that be the bit every time. Like something like that happens and somebody goes, lol, that's so random. And then they continue, but it's played straight, but visually funny. And then they don't have to call attention to the bit. The bit can just be the bit, and also reinforce the theme that, the nature of this world and this franchise is viciously predatorial, and that's great. Like, it's just no misses.
Well, they only
complaints.
Focus on that part like once, right? It's the opening shot where they clearly show it, and then the fact that it's now background is like, trust the audience a little bit more. And that, like, I mean, the opening shot, like, again, to me, I kind of laughed because I'm like, like, again, felt very on the nose, but like I laughed with it, I think. And then like when that became very evidently the bit, that it was like, oh, and they're aware of that, like they're having fun with it. It's not going to be like, hey, remember Predator, right? Like, get it?
At first I was a little worried. I was a little worried because I said I went in a little bit defensively, like, oh, here we go, an IP thing. And that opening was great, but I immediately thought of the prequel Star Wars when they're like, there's always a bigger fish, Annie, as like the fish that's trying to eat them in the underwater world gets eaten by the bigger fish. And I was like, they did that in 10 seconds of screen time, didn't call attention to it, moved on.
Don't tell also, show don't tell, right?
Exactly.
Like that's the bit. I think like I had a couple things that I wanted to say to this before I wrap up on my end, but I think the first thing is just on the like you said about like let him be the Kevin Feige of this. It's like no, like like we're close. I think what to me I want to see is just like let this man do his thing if he wants to
Let him
make all
cook.
them. Like I don't want 20 of I don't want 4 of these a year. Right, like I want, right, like it's
one every 2
have to
years.
pace it out well, and I think part of it is just that because it's not like a huge money making IP by any stretch, like you know, in the same vein of like billions of dollars in Star Wars and shit, that they don't care enough. And I think that's usually when the best versions of these things get made, is because they don't like get over involved. They just take someone that's talented and good and cares and lets them do some good stuff with it. And I think for me, like the one thing I really want to take away from this movie too, as a point of worth mentioning, is just the significance of the impact. Like you said with Prey, I had the same doubts about Prey before I saw it, of like, fuck, like direct to streaming, they don't even think it's good enough to put in theaters. Like, oh
streaming
shit, this
IP
is gonna suck.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, this is gonna suck. And then I heard the stuff like, guys, this is really good. So me and Kelsey watched it and loved it. Like it was a lot of fun. And if like the thing that I hope like is taken away from this, and I think this is now evident, I think is more true as time goes on, but streaming stuff does not have, it has like a straight to DVD-esque sentiment about it. It is frankly an often earned sentiment, and I think like a lot of studios now, and these streamers in particular, a lot more of them are recognizing the route. Like you need to make certain movies theatrical. Netflix is the most stubborn on this front, and so like I hope the takeaway is like there's never harm in this. I feel like other than if you invest like way too much money and all that, but like that's, you're leaving money on the table without a theatrical thing here. And again, like this movie made like we said 80 million at least this weekend, and that's off opening weekend with a movie that you know lacks all of this other kind of stuff that all these other ones have. And I think like it's great to see this. It's still IP and everything like that, so it's not like a complete original thing by any stretch, but it is just like sort of the best kind of versions of this stuff that we can get. And if this was the standard in terms of frequency and all of that and quality, then like we wouldn't be so bugged by all the IP stuff if this is what it was. But 9 times out of 10, it's like the bit from that other Apple show where it's like, oh, we got to get the Kool-Aid movie made because we need to, IP sells, people like Kool-Aid. So
yeah.
I
we'll
think
get a famous
like
director
for me, it's
just to sell IP.
yeah, Martin Scorsese does Kool-Aid, bro.
Kool-Aid.
But yeah, like I think to me it's just like it was such a like way more, and I don't want to say I wasn't hopeful, because I was off of Prey. Like I was really hoping that this movie would deliver, and even with that hope and expectation, it absolutely did. And I think to me it's okay to say like you said, it's like not to get bogged down in the details of it, but like when we were coming up with the Hardo-meter, it was like I really struggled conceptually with like, how do we do it? Do we want to score? Is it worth nitpicking? And to me, it was like, well, how do I talk about movies? It was fine. I didn't really care. I like it. I love it. Dislike, hate. Like it made more sense to do that. And I think like having sat with it and thinking about it more, like it was definitely an experience that I loved. And it was like, again, it's not the depth, it's not a challenge, but it is the best version of that kind of popcorn stuff that we get these days. And without question, if he wants to put them in Nazi Germany, I don't care where he wants to go. If we're paying off this angle with the bomb that's left there at the end, sure, dude, I can't wait to see what's next. And I hope it's a year or two down the line and not in 6 months we have 3 things between now and that next movie, you know. So
I definitely want Badlands 2, even if it's like passing the torch. Like I definitely even want like Return to This Well, not the same story, but like do another Predator focused movie. There's that one movie it was an art movie, a lot of people didn't love it. It was the one where they follow a Jason Voorhees killer. It's like what if Friday the 13th, but from the perspective of the killer, and it was very long and boring in a violent nature. And in a way, it was like, oh, how are they going to do that here? Like, let's follow the predator instead of the prey. And yeah, again, Dan knew exactly what he was doing here. They did Prey, and then this movie is the closest thing you could have to like OG Predator story. Like, yeah, so I can't like that enough. And I would say, I think I forgot to mention, but like I got goosebumps a few times. The sound in this movie is great, but like even like the Predator doing his like roar thing, like great theater experience. Like they feel that bass, and when the Calyx monster does his roar and they're having like a scream off, I was just like, again, it's a hell yeah movie. It feels like you're drinking jet fuel watching it. It's like, yeah, like get to the bone. Yeah, crack a white monster and go see it with the boys is my yeah, I would also say like last controversial statement, because we should wrap it up, but I would say in the vein of popcorn movies and like going for the theater experience and enjoying the movie as like in one ear out the other, love your time with it, not like necessarily something you're gonna like linger thinking about forever, like an anxiety trip movie like If I Had Legs I'd Kick You or Die My Love. I would say, comparing this to something like F1, I think I had a better time with this. I had a much better audience experience with this one, but I think like F1 was a movie that I felt very good about, very by the numbers. That one I felt more confident, not saying like I loved, but really enjoyed. Where this movie, I definitely like, I got to love it because I just was like, I nitpicked it in the theater to only be surprised by how much I liked what it did and where it was going. Or the F1, a little bit more formulaic. So it, if that means anything, but I was gonna say that and have you be like, no, what's the guy, McQueen or whatever? What the Top Gun director? I was trying to be like, no, my Top Gun director is still
Kaczynski.
Kaczynski, yeah, Kaczynski's still my go. Dan Trachtenberg has nothing on him, but it's not about comparison.
No,
yeah,
I like conceptually I would agree. Like I think to me, especially in a normal theater, I would say this is a better experience. I saw it in the IMAX here in Montreal, and like, yeah, to me F1 was like, if I gave it a 4, I think. As an IMAX movie, if I watch that at home, it's a 2.5. Like it's like pretty unexceptional narratively. If you're not getting the full kind of experience of like the visuals, like it's an IMAX movie. If you're not getting that, then it doesn't have enough of the other beats to carry you. So yeah, I think I would agree with that too. I think I gave them both 4s for those two different reasons.
Yeah.
Like I think as an IMAX movie, it was so crazy and like I was super engrossed in there. But like as a movie you can watch in any form, I would definitely give the edge to Predator, Badlands. And just one last thing you said too about the sequels thing and like going forward. The one drawback I actually kind of thought was here was the like the end, the very end of the mother showing up and almost like not quite sequel baiting, but definitely in that vein where it's like, I'm okay with that. Like you could do sequels and everything, but it's like, I don't know if that's the best route. Like for me, it's like when you think about something like Star Wars, for me, I always struggled with any of this other stuff they've done because it always feel like it lives in the shadow of the originals. Like you have the big universal story and the Skywalkers is the most important character. So like they're trying to find every way that they can pull this back in to relate to that in different ways. And then with like Predator, and again, it's different setups and everything, but it's not like every Predator movie that ever has been made is constantly be like, and this is where Arnold Schwarzenegger comes back around. And like, I'm worried that if they go down the route and like Dan has all of the runway he needs, as far as I'm concerned, if he wants to do that, I trust him to be able to pull it off better than anybody else. But it is my one kind of worry that if we worry too much about getting caught up in an overall thing or building like a franchise that connects and be like, oh my God, the lead from Predator, not Badlands or whatever the hell they would call it. And now, and they meet
Adrian
and it's
Brody
like
from 2011,
the Civil War of Predators. Like, if it becomes too big, then it's like, no, like, so I
that
hope
being
like
said,
they just run it through, have fun with it.
That being said, I feel like, the cynicism's coming back into me now because I'm like, yeah, would you rather again, the Guardians of the Galaxy style new clan ending that this introduces being Badlands 2 as the next Predator installment? Or do you want what I just read, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger said he loves the movie and he's like, I want Dutch to come back to the franchise. And again, I picture the Feige brain people being like, yeah, so what if, because everyone, the test audiences really love Badlands. What if we have Dutch pet the baby Grogu monster of this movie? Yeah. And he goes, I'm an old man now, Anyway, I'm kidding.
This
but
is
yeah,
problem. Success is not enough success for them, right? They'll be like, oh, this is a financial hit. Now, if we bring Arnold back, it'll be even bigger. And they'll just do this thing. And that's where I think, you'll lose me. It'll fall apart because it's doing all these things that it doesn't
Arnold
want
as Dutch goes, on your left, and he comes out of a Predator sky portal and he saves the day in Badlands 2. That's my lock. I'm locking that one in now.
God.
But the worst part of this movie is being concerned for sequels, and that's not a knock on the movie. That's
what a
just
great
like a
spot
Hollywood
to find
statement.
ourselves in.
Yeah, what a great spot, because that's the thing. The doors are open to go a bunch of avenues. I love that they kind of almost made it more anthology-like, be it, like you said, do the that was a good bit too. The fucking Predator goes to Nazi Germany. Like, you can do anything. Like put a Predator in any time. And then even go to the future. Like, heck, the alien world is great for that. So yeah, I would say, that's it's refreshing. And I didn't think I would say that about a Disney movie in 2025, let alone an IP. So can't recommend it enough. I guess on that note, I would say, like, the funniest thing when the movie did end, what I love seeing was there was some discussion. There's maybe 10 people. I saw this movie at like 4:00. I got off work and I raced to my nearest IMAX, saw it in 3D. Haven't seen a 3D IMAX in a while. It was kind of mild Cineplex gripe here too. I've been saying this for a while now, but the pre-shows are getting out of hand. Like, it got worse somehow. It's like inflation, where it's like, oh, it's a little expensive. Then one day you're like, it's not $5 expensive. You know what I mean? But the trailer-ness of the movies have gotten so much worse. My 4:20 showtime, I showed up at 4:50. And as I'm walking in, I got my 3D glasses covered in smudges. The theater attendant was like, don't touch the glasses. And it's like, they're smudged to death. So I wipe them down, and then one of the eyes was like cutting to black. And I'm like, was that because I wiped it? Oh my God. Not my fault. Anyways, it worked out. But I go in, I sit down, and I come in with the 3D on because I'm like, they must be 10 minutes in the movie. I can't believe I missed the part of the movie. I walk in, and the last trailer finishes, and it goes, please put on your 3D glasses. And I'm like, oh, good. I didn't miss anything. 30 minutes into the showtime. This is perfect for me. Put on my 3D glasses. And what comes after the 3D glass thing? You think it's the movie.
3D trailers?
No, worse. A 2D ad for Skip the Dishes with Seth Rogen talking about ordering Skip the Dishes. And I'm like, you bastards, you put on the movie starts now. That's the closest you get to the movie starting now announcement in an IMAX 3D. And then they put on a regular YouTube quality, streaming quality, Seth Rogen pitching a movie idea. And they're like, well, it's Canadian, so they have Skip the Dishes there. And I'm like, kudos, glad. But I'm like, you really, really milked us. You had 30 minutes of previews and runtime stuff. And then you throw in another 35, 40-second ad of Seth Rogen's Skip the Dishes ad. I was saying there's one movie where I saw 2 or 3 back-to-back Ford commercials after the trailers, during the trailers, and before in the pre-show. So I'm never showing up early ever again. So screw you, Cineplex. But all that being said, I got so derailed. I got so heated. Also, on the way out, I'm like, the 3D glasses that were so sensitive. I got to put this back with reverence so they don't get damaged. And they're just in a bin, like the old 3D glasses. So I'm like, no wonder these are smudged and shitty. So I was like, anyways, but the point of this, my anti-Cineplex statement is, even if you're a Cineplex employee, this is important. I love that of the 10 people in my 4:00 show, there's at least 2 or 3 other older guys. They're well-dressed, very normal, very socially normal. Like, normally you can clock when someone's a bit like movie hyper obsessed, but these guys are just very normal dad bros, just hanging out talking about the movie. I love seeing it. But they're standing right by the exit of the theater, where there's a theater employee collecting the garbage, and then they start asking the theater employee what he thought of the movie, and he immediately goes, oh, I'm actually really excited to see it. I haven't seen it. I'm going on the weekend with my friends when I'm off work. And they go, yeah, because the way it ends, and they just start talking about the ending of the movie. Like, so yeah, what'd you think about it? When he kills the cyborg and gives the android head to his dad, and he's like, well, again, I haven't really seen it, but yeah, I am going to. And they're like, yeah, like, oh, also the end credit scene with the mothership showing up, that was crazy. And he's like, yeah, I can't wait to see the movie. And I was like, God damn, like, so. Yeah, if just remember, Cineplex employees are not androids like in the movie. They have real lives and also probably enjoy movies because they work there. So don't spoil the movie in the lobby talking to the Cineplex employees, let alone other people going in. I was blown away that these seemingly well-adjusted older men just bombed the spoiler for this poor kid that was just, working a part-time Friday afternoon shift. So shout out to that guy, and I hope he has a good time despite knowing the whole ending, the plot reveal about the alien. Like, yeah, I had to say that one on the pod. That broke my heart because this poor kid. Like, I even thought that too. If I was 15 seeing this as a hell yeah movie, I'd be so crushed to have that spoiled at like the peak age to go see the movie. So,
yeah, come on, guys, be courteous of our poor employees out there. They love movies too, and don't just be talking to them about everything that just happened because they didn't watch the movie with you.